Yeah, sorry.
Whoa, this ain't one.
Be down the side. And
But I appreciate everybody on the chat tonight for your comments. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the Bee Connection tonight. It's great to have everybody with us, and anybody that might be new in the chat. Appreciate you guys for coming and visiting, and feel free to make comments. We'd like you to be part of the show, and your input is just as important as anybody else's. So we do appreciate you being here tonight. So beekeeping, what's going on? Not much here in Nash County. Still feeding the bees. It was 74 degrees. It's quite warm for this time of year. I'm enjoying it myself, but my bees are not doing too good with this warm weather. So low on resources. Anyway, we was working on a project that Randy Oliver is doing with the dribble on the oxalic acid by putting those in the hives. We did get some results tonight from that. Some pretty interesting results, but I would really like the other bee yards throughout the state to get their information to see if it kind of matches up with ours before we release some of that. So I think y'all find that very interesting. I really found it to be incredible because it wasn't quite what I expected. And that's the way it is with beekeeping. So anyway, Spanky, what's going on with you, brother, down there where you're at?
Saw the bees flying today. It was, I think, in the 80s. So they were flying around. Of course, there ain't much for them to actually get anything off of, but they were flying around. Found a bunch of outdoor plants marked down at the Lowe's for $1 a plant. And there were a lot of them were perennials, so like mums and some kind of different, I don't know if these wildflowers or what, but they said pollinators loved them. I grabbed a bunch of them up, and I planted a bunch of them in front of the bees. So,
yeah, this time of year is a great time of year to pick up flowers and stuff that might be good in your apiary. And we pick up, seems like, some orchids, it seems like this time of year also, that's kind of died, and they just try to get rid of them, and we try to bring them back to life. So it's a little game we like to play here at the house. So it's a lot of fun. So that's great information there, Spanky. So people can keep their eyes open. They can find some really good deals. So yeah. And so I think they're up there in Canada, if I'm not mistaken, what she said they said just a second ago. So, JW, what's going down where you're at?
Same old. Treating bees, feeding bees, and actually, I did my 4th round of AOV cleanup this afternoon, and one of my hives is actually bringing in pollen. Don't ask me where in God's name it's coming from, but it's real bright orange again. So
Wow.
only one out of 36, but I've got they were just loaded. Every 3rd or 4th bee had orange pollen on it coming in. I don't know what it was.
That's
Wasn't
really
somebody
incredible.
else? Wasn't somebody else the other day saying their bees were bringing in pollen and they didn't know where it was coming from either?
Well, that was me then, but then
Was that you then too?
That when they quit for a few days, now they're back at it. So I don't. They've found some more someplace.
Hmm.
But this is a different hives too, you know, and it's actually in a different yard. I don't think it's feed dust, Jonathan. I don't know what it is.
That's a good guess though for this time of year.
Yeah.
So
I don't. Well, I just don't know what it is.
so JW, no possums this week?
Yeah, I got one this morning. And I got
Oh, God.
one 2 days ago, a possum and a coon. I tell you what, if you watch somebody, put out a couple little videos, just little shorts on it. I've caught 2 skunks, 3 possums, 2 of my barn cats, and I'm on my 37th coon since I started live trapping this late summer.
So I believe my audience would really like to know, when it comes to catching those skunks, how do you release those things or get rid of them?
Very carefully. If you're move real slow and cover them up a little bit, you can pick them up in the live traps, and that's what I do.
Really?
I might come out of there a little stinky, but the majority of the time I can get them. Where I usually pick up most of my stink is a lot of times they may spray on the ground where the trap's setting,
Right.
and if you happen to step there, you get that on your shoes. It hangs around for a few days, so. But I'm not saying never, but I seldom ever get sprayed.
Yeah, DC's want to know how many times you have been sprayed though.
Well, probably, I don't know, 5 to 10 times over the last few years. So
Gosh.
I've got a neighbor. I live in the edge of a town that's about 10,000, and I've got a neighbor. He's 96 years old, and he does it he traps skunks. People will call him. It's got them here in town, and he traps them, and he live traps them. But I honestly think he takes them to the rural area and disposes of them. But he does catch them in live traps, and he catches a lot of them. He told me here a while back, and he's 96 years old. He told me he'd caught over 500 skunks in this town, about 10,000.
There can't be no honeybees left in a town like that.
I don't think there's that many honeybees in town anyway. But
Well, right.
uh,
So did you see that list that Tom and Melissa put out that showed their monthly thing about every day they're eating out? Did you see that?
I noticed that. Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that. I've been on him all evening. We've been chatting back and forth. I'm trying to smarten Tom up, but I think I probably got him so upset he probably going to bed.
Oh. So Melissa, you guys traveling right now? Is that you guys in a hotel?
Yeah, we're in Springfield, Illinois. We'll see JW tomorrow evening for the Illinois State Beekeepers Association meeting. So that's what we're doing. Tom's actually not feeling the best, so he decided he wanted to take a hot shower and see if that helps him feel a little bit better. So
Mm,
I'll try to keep him off camera for a while.
yeah.
No one wants to see that.
Why'd you do this, JW?
That kind of show.
Why'd you berate him so bad?
Yeah,
What's
that's
that?
what it was.
I said, why'd JW berate him so bad? He don't want to get on camera now.
I know. That's probably actually what it is.
I've heard his feelings big time. I'm sure I have. I've been on it pretty hard to see him.
He's a pretty sensitive guy,
Yeah.
No, but so we're here for the conference. That doesn't start until Friday, though. Well, no, Saturday. But they're doing the honey judge training, the same honey council that does the honey show at Nobby. They're here and they're having a little honey show. There's my honey that I prepped for the honey show. That took me like 3 days to do this week. But anyway, so Tom and I are doing the honey judge training tomorrow. So I've got a bunch of entries for the show, and then we have that training tomorrow, and then the conference on Saturday.
Now let me ask you: did you overfill those jars of hair, or does it not affect it if it gets knocked over, and then whenever you pull that plastic out, some of the honey comes off? Because I know some of them judges, they look at it up to that line, and if it doesn't look like it, they count points off.
Yeah, so it has to be filled exactly to that line.
Yeah.
And you have to, I mean, I clean the rim on the inside before I submit it. I'll open it up, wipe that out, clean the rim, put the lid back on while I'm wearing gloves because you don't want fingerprints on anything. And then I'll take an alcohol. Huh?
What happens if it falls over by accident and some of the honey gets on that plastic wrap you've got to keep the...
Well, I take the plastic wrap off when you submit it. Like, it's not submitted.
I know that. I'm saying, I know some honey, if it falls over, some honey will be stuck on.
Oh.
Will
I would just
enough taken out, they're going to look at it and be able to tell, or?
I don't know. I keep it pretty, like, I have it all in a container so it won't knock over and fall all over. So if that happens, I guess I'm just,
If I can get up there for the contest, Rick, or Hank, I'm gonna.
You just have to be super careful.
Yeah, take them up for him.
Be the nice guy that I am.
I heard they had some bourbon honey for you, JW. So you'll be probably feeling pretty good.
Speaking of honey, let me interject here and do a little blowing. I've got my where I sell my honey is at the farm, and I'm 1.5 miles off the highway, and I've got signs at the highway. Well, I was sitting there this morning, and a big white Cadillac pulled in my driveway at the farm, and this guy introduced himself and said he was from Chicago, and they happened to be passing by. I've got a feather flag down on the highway that to attract their attention, and I've got a sign that says I'm 1.5 miles off the highway. And they had seen my sign, and he says, have you got 1 pound bottles of honey? I said, yes, sir. He said, I want 22. And he bought 22. I actually didn't have that much bottled up because I used this bottle it, every day, replace what they take maybe like the day before. And I only had about 10 or 12 bottled up. So he said, do you mind if I watch it? And I said, no, sir. He said, where's your bees? I said, well, they're here on this premises. And I've got a little work golf cart. He wanted to see my bees. So I took him on a tour, showed him my hives, and he says, do you have business cards? I said, yeah. He says, will you ship? I said, yes. He said, give me a business card. And he said, I'll be in touch. He says, I'll send you orders for you to ship to me. He says, I want quite a lot of honey. So my feather flag on the highway paid off pretty good, paid for itself. So I thought that was kind of an unusual circumstance to have somebody just pulling off the highway, don't know you, don't know what your honey's like. And it takes 22 pounds, 22 1 pound bottles.
There you go.
Awesome. That's really good.
Now I know JW can pay for dinner tomorrow night.
That's right. He's got the cash on it.
It's all about the eating factor.
All about the eating.
All about the eating factor with that Via bunch. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So Russell's got a question here, and I think somebody else had mentioned the same thing maybe last week. Question: have y'all noticed the bees are calm for the past week? I opened the hive and they aren't flying. So I do know someone had made that comment that they didn't think there was any bees in their colony, and they opened the lid up and about got, well, the bees were after them, let's just put it that way. Have Have you seen that JW around your house?
Yes, and the Camas, shouldn't tell you this, I'll advertise a little for you. The Camas colony that I've got is in your horizontal hives.
Oh.
I can work them things in a t-shirt. They just don't, they never ever, they may eat me up next time I pop the lid on them, but so far, they have never even, you can run your hands over them, do anything you want to, and they never offer to come out there and sting me.
So unless you guys giving a speech or anything while you guys are there?
Nope, we're here purely for our own educational purposes. So no talking this week.
And
Just
to eat.
Huh?
And to eat.
And to eat, of course. Of course. No, I wanted to do this honey judge thing to see what it was about, and then because we might actually add that to our conference, the honey judge training thing. So I've been talking to Pam Carter about it, who's one of the judges on the council there. So we might add that to like the day before our workshop, also like they're kind of doing here. So that'll be kind of interesting to see how that works out. But just here this weekend, purely for educational purposes and to hang out with JW.
There you go. You're hanging out with a celebrity, I'm sure. So Cameron's got something here, and this might be something we can get in a good conversation right here. He says, got a bee issue in Cincinnati I've been asking around about. No one seems to know. The whole location community is stumped. And his next comment is, the bees have been lining up vertical on the gutters from the ground to the shingles and hanging out until they pass. Wow.
That sounds like lost bees.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
That's what I was thinking. Maybe an abscond or late season abscond, and some of them got lost and they're just kind of hanging out there. I don't know. That's kind of weird.
I'll second that. I'd say the late season swarmers or absconders, and they just got disorientated and they don't know what to do.
Cameron, how many are you seeing? Are you seeing just maybe 20 or 30 bees? Are you seeing, fairly big clusters of bees doing this? I'd like to know.
I'd say the more interesting thing would be how long has it been going on?
Okay, that's a good question too.
Since he's talking about bees dying, has it been long enough that this is a new generation of bees that's come along?
Yeah.
Because you see that with the open feeding lost bees, they don't know where to go, or they just want to hang around the feeder until they die.
Right. Yep. Let's see. Here he goes. He's answered right here. I can get my computer to cooperate tonight. Thought it was normal until I spoke to other beekeepers the whole hive, even in the winter. Interesting.
So the whole hive of bees is hanging out on the gutter until I'm so confused. Bees have been lining up vertically on the gutters from the ground to the shingles and hanging out until they pass. So is there an active live colony right next to where these gutters are? And I don't know.
I'd like to see some pictures. I'll send you my.
Maybe if I saw a video or a picture or something, I might be understanding it better. I'm just having a hard time.
I assume that last comment was them saying that another keeper is seeing the same phenomenon.
Oh, okay.
So it's not an anomaly to them. Other people are seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Here is my email if you'd like to send a picture, Cameron, and we'll post it on here tonight so people can see kind of a little bit what you're talking about. So That's really interesting.
It sounds like they're on a gutter downspout. So that's what I imagine, vertical from ground to shingle.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
I do appreciate you sharing that too to let us talk about it. That's might help somebody else if they see the same thing.
Don't
So
know. If anybody has a flare, they could light that up.
yeah.
See what's going on underneath the gutter.
Yeah. So if anybody doesn't know, Tom's not been with us today, and I have a feeling it might be because he was wearing that wig yesterday, and so he just can't seem to want to take it off.
He stole my wig. Oh my gosh. Oh, he even found some more boxes to extract honey from.
He's everywhere. Tom.
I can't believe it. I know that was Lee.
Oh, there he is.
There's several pictures of you in this wig.
Yeah.
You're looking good there, Tom.
What can I say? I was built for the camera.
I'll have to check his bag and see if he packed it for this weekend.
Oh yeah, he probably did to take JW out in to humiliate him.
Thanks, DC.
I told him I'd been pouring it on you, Sonny.
Yeah, he said maybe I've been picking on him too much. That's why he doesn't want to get on.
Yeah.
I hurt his feelings.
I'm a little bashful now.
So we did. Tom did start emptying that bourbon barrel of the bourbon barrel aged honey, and
Right.
the moisture. We checked the moisture as it was coming out of the barrel, and it was what 21.6.
Not quite.
But
It's
what was
like
it?
20 point something or 21.
No, it's 21. I thought you said 21.6. So he put it into the bottling tank downstairs, and we have the dehumidifier running in there also with the lid off the bottling tank. And that was what, 2 days ago?
Oh, yeah.
And today when he checked it, it was down to like 18.6, 18.9.
I think it was 18.9.
So it's going down pretty fast. It needs to get down low enough to bottle by tomorrow, because our son is doing a market for us at a bourbon shop in St. Louis on Saturday. And we have to have the bourbon honey to sell at the bourbon shop.
You better hope JW don't steal it.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah. So talk me through the process there, Tom. I mean, I've seen it looked like there's some wood ash mixed in with that honey.
Yeah. So what you're seeing is you're just seeing the char out of the barrel.
Okay.
From when they actually make, I think, and I could be mistaken, but I believe whenever they make any of those barrels, I think they char the inside.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that would be the same case for a wine barrel, which is generally made from oak.
I think they
But
try those.
I think some other alcohols they generally do. So I can't really speak exactly toward that because I don't know 100%. But each one of the bourbon barrels that we've gotten have had char on the inside, like oak char. They'll also put what they call staves in there, which are just pieces of wood.
Alcohol soaked wood.
Right. And so, yeah, that's kind of what you're seeing. And then the same thing happened, whenever I had emptied the bourbon barrel, the last one that I had done here. What was it?
A year ago, almost. Exactly.
Yeah, I guess it was almost a year ago, honestly. And so I just filtered it down, but I think I went down to, I want to say 400 microns, if I remember right. And I still seen some little bitty black flecks in there. But, and then I asked a couple of buddies about it at that time. And he actually, I was trying to get them all out is what I was trying to do. Probably a little bit of my you know, me being compulsive about things, I guess, or obsessive rather. But anyway, he actually said to me, he goes, "Why do you want to get them all out?" And I'm like, "I don't know." So anyway, there was little bitty tiny. I mean, you really had to look hard for them. There was like little bitty black flecks in there from it that, you know, you can't taste them or anything like that, right? But they're really, really small. So they'll be the same thing in this one. So I guess it's kind of the beauty of it, really. But we've aged this one for 90 days as well.
Wow. So did you have any leakage with the drum itself this time?
Oh yeah, it leaked a little bit more this time on this one
But
than
not
it,
until
than
like
it had.
not real bad though until like the past couple weeks.
Yeah, I would say probably at least the past few weeks. But if I would leave if my boys would open the garage door where I had it setting at inside there, and the bees would find it, particularly this late fall, whenever we've had a pretty strong dearth, the bees would find it and they would clean it up pretty quickly. But I was trying to keep them out of it, and here just recently, it's been a little bit chillier, so they haven't flown as much. And then, of course, the rainy weather, and it was kind of leaking on the floor a little bit, so I had to go in there and wash everything out really well. And since I actually pulled a little bit of it out of there, I noticed that it wasn't leaking as much. So I don't know if it's a change in temperature or what the
the
situation
humidity in
is.
the air probably because of all the rain we've had.
Yeah,
had
that could be.
barrel swell.
Yeah, it
mean,
could be the humidity in the air.
we got
kind of
like over
rehydrating
9
the
we got-
wood.
We got like over 9 inches of rain in the earlier this week
Yeah.
over the course of like 2 days.
Yeah, there's some areas around us, not particularly where we are at, but that they're flooding. Their rivers are supposed to crest.
Tomorrow.
I think tomorrow, midday or afternoon. So there's going to be a lot of areas that are kind of underwater in and around St. Louis.
Common flooding areas though.
Yeah, I mean, some of these areas are like 100-year floods, and I've seen it happen like 4 or 5 times. And I mean, we all know I'm not as old as JW, so I mean, I'm not 100 like him.
Yeah, JW.
Yeah, there's an update on the gutter.
Yeah, so on this thing with what Cameron's talking about, some theories the area has been that some of the paints people are using are attracting them. I'm not a scientist, so I can't speak to it, but something about the UV blocking paints. And then we had Nicholas on here who made a really good comment that I didn't know. So I put it up here.
You'd have to read
Thank you, Lee. And it says long-time bee research here. The vertical gluten gutter bees are common in homes built from the 1980s to 2000. Building materials have changed over the years. So that's really interesting. I knew nothing about this. This is pretty cool to learn something new. Appreciate that, guys. Good information to share with everybody else if anybody receives that.
Yeah, so Dodd left a comment on here. He said I got 11.5 inches in 2 days. So Dodd's not too far from me. I think he's a little bit southwest of me, if I remember right. Kind of down 44. If you kind of head southwest, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So he actually got more rain than we did.
We got a question there from I think it's Kazik.
Kasich.
You want to bring that up?
Yeah, we got that.
I don't know what state you're in, so I would not properly advise you on whether or not you can legally open feed outside, because in some states you cannot. So I don't know what y'all think on that. 100 feet away.
I try to get it as far away. If I'm going to open feed, especially this time of year, you really need it a good distance away from your colonies.
Well, their concern is their house.
Do what now?
Their concern is their house. The last time
Oh,
I did that, the bees showed up to my door trying to get in through the windows 500 feet away.
so was that when they was fixing the sugar water?
That was the last time I guess they did open feed.
Okay.
Live on 10 acres.
Live on 10 acres, he says. Yeah.
So my only problem with open feeding is you're feeding all the bees. You're not just feeding your bees.
That's true.
So you don't really
And yellow jackets and red wolf and ball-faced hornets and every
right.
other critters looking for.
And sugar ain't cheap anymore.
There's usually a lot of fighting when that happens too.
Yeah.
So if you have the ability to do in-hive feeding, either with a hive top feeder or a division board feeder, that is what I would suggest doing. But I've never open fed. I mean, we put things covered in honey out on our back porch for the bees to clean up all the time.
Right.
And they just bang into the window because it's there. They're not necessarily trying to get in.
Yeah, I do a lot of open feed for us this time of year, usually because it's kind of cool and the yellow jackets are really not out. And you still have those foragers that want to kind of get out. But this year's been so weird for us with the weather being so warm. So it would definitely cause a little bit of fighting. So
Have you dealt with lost bees, Ricky?
do what?
Have you dealt with lost bees?
When you say lost bees, you saying absconded bees, or we saying?
Whenever I open fed, and the reason why I don't like to open feed, I had lost bees. They would not go back to wherever they came from.
Oh
They
yeah,
hung
yeah,
on all the
absolutely.
feeder, and they got aggressive towards me when I came to mess with the feeder.
Yeah. And sometimes I think that Spanky is bees that were at the prime of their life. They were about done and they just didn't go back. So,
Well, they weren't done enough to not try to sting me. So
well,
So
yeah, I have seen that Spanky.
she's asking about pollen sub. So we open feed pollen sub in the early spring, but only to keep the bees off of our neighbors' bird feeders. Right now, the bees really don't need pollen because the pollen is really for raising brood. So there's not really too much reason to feed them pollen sub this time of year. But I don't see fighting when I do feed them pollen sub. Like I said, in that usually early spring, sometimes even when we get those in our area, we get those unusually nice days in January and February. And my neighbor who's afraid of anything that buzzes is like, the bees are all over my bird feeder. It's like, okay, Kevin. So I'll put like a pan of pollen sub up to kind of draw the bees back to our yard, and all is well in the world.
Vincent, where are you located at? Because I want some of that sugar you're getting.
Well,
so Castle
Brian,
Hives.
Castle had that same
Really?
deal at the store
Yep.
up near him. So I don't know if Vincent's near Brian or not, but that's a good price there.
I don't know if you read his post. He got questioned at one of the stores and they didn't want to sell to him. He
What?
bought so much.
Oh,
It's in his post. That's in Brian's post that they questioned him and didn't want to sell to him.
It's not like you
Wow.
can do anything bad with sugar. Like
It's not going to go off it.
But boy, that gutter thing's getting even more interesting in the comments. Cameron talking about reading an old bee book. They like the sound of their little feet echoing behind the aluminum, and once they hear it, they get some hooked, and the others follow them.
well, that's kind of interesting.
Vincent's about 45 minutes from Castle Hive, so maybe it's the same chain of store or something.
Right. Yeah. Some of the mountain people up here, when they catch swarms, and I don't know how much truth to this is, but when they catch a swarm and they get the queen, they get her in the box, and they just, like, if you just get a swarm, you throw it in the box, the first thing they start doing is tapping on the side of the box. That sounds like they're trying to beat a drum. And they say that helps the bees march in. Now, I don't know if that's just an old-timey saying or if it actually has something to do, but it's pretty interesting.
No, you can. I've sucked them
See
in
that
that
happen.
big box without the queen. It'll work.
Really?
That's the old timer. That's the old time way.
Really?
What's the rhythm on that beating? Like how often?
Boom, 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 boom.
Okay.
I don't know, but it will work. Believe me. Try it sometime. You think I'm kidding?
So Swarmstead Bees and Gardening just posted that they've been feeding with Ziploc bags this season. So one of the guys in our bee club, that's how that's how they do all their feeding. They just fill a Ziploc bag with sugar water, put it on top, put a few slits in the top of that bag, and then put like a super, some sort of shim up there. And then the bees just get their little proboscis and suck it
So
out.
when y'all say slit, is it more of a pinhole that you're putting in it, or
No, he takes a razor blade and that I guess that hydroscopic pressure or whatever
It
keeps
holds it together.
not hydroscopic. Oh my gosh.
The tension, whatever it is.
Oh my word. It's late. But yeah, so the tension holds it
Water.
together and it doesn't,
doesn't come
go
up?
everywhere.
I've never tried that method.
Darren told what the story is that Brian got all that sugar from. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, that worked really good for the nukes last year when we didn't have those Enel feeders. Tom did that on the nukes to feed the sugar water to the nukes since he didn't want to take out 2 frames to put in a division board feeder.
Yeah, Melanie's saying that's the same thing Dennis does.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy, it's quick, but that's a lot of plastic bags you're going to go through if you have a lot of hives.
That's pretty cool. Bruce, I appreciate the tip. We had some people asking at the Bee Association about that, so that's some good stuff I can pass along. Real simple and easy. You don't have to actually have a feeder to feed the bees that way. So, and Russell likes to use the Ziploc back in the spring also. Cool. It's awesome, guys. Have you ever tried that, JW?
The bags, I don't know. No, I haven't.
Tom and Melissa, you guys ever tried that?
The Ziploc bags?
Yeah.
Tom did in the nukes last year before we had all those Enel division board feeders or whatever. It worked fine.
Go on, Charlie. You doing all right tonight?
Hey, what'd you say?
Said you doing all right tonight, Charlie?
Yeah, doing all right.
Have you ever tried the bag feeders?
No,
No.
I just do top high feeders. The only kind of outlet you were talking about, open feeding, I did 5-gallon buckets where you have that ring around the edge and you poke the little hole, drill holes in them, and they fill up up that little trough. I've done that in the past.
Okay.
But if you're going to feed the bees, I would rather direct feed them in the hive, either
Right.
a top hive feeder. Hey, Brian, or a frame feeder or quart jar or something.
Hey, Charlie, do you have any Giant Eagle stores near you?
Any what?
Giant Eagle stores near you? That's the name of the store.
It's got
They
the
got
Yeah.
sugar real cheap.
No. We got the Costco's and, what do you call it? Walmart and things like that.
Yeah, 25 cents a pound at that Giant Eagle store.
Wow. There you go. Keith put some of the places that they're at. Locations, states anyway.
Hey, Russell.
So
Hey, Link. I guess that, how do you, Lynk, how you pronounce that?
I would
Link?
say link.
I thought link, but I didn't want to missay it.
So a lot of people like those rapid rounds. We've never had luck with those rapid rounds. We've always had a lot of drowning with those. My favorite is the Ceracell top feeders. And then
I have one of them cheap rapid rounds off the Amazon special. I put a rock on top of it. I knew
So-
before I even filled it up, the bees was going to push the top off of it.
Hmm.
With the wraparounds, for me, the best thing is to put a sock over the, you have your little cup that goes over that, put an old sock in there, and then that allows the bees to go in and out, and they're less likely to drown. Plus, that kind of makes a wick, and they can kind of suck that up. And I think I got that from Frederick Dunn watching some of his videos. That's what he does.
Well, we would get drowning when the sugar syrup would start getting low, and then they'd be able to move that cup around, that covers whatever, and then they get into the actual feed part of it, and that's where they were drowning.
Okay.
But yeah, so we've always had really good luck with the Saracel ones. We have a lot of the Man Lake hive top feeders, but we run 8-frame, and the 8-frame, so the screen that goes over the trough where the bees climb up, it's not secured in any way. So the bees can push that screen out or find gaps in it, and then they get into that top feeder and they drown that way. So we will silicone around the edges of that. Well, then when you silicone it, when bees get up in there, and some bees die up in there, whatever, just because bees die, that's what they do. And then you can't pull that screen out anymore to empty all the dead bees out. And you have to flip it over, shake them out, flip it over, shake it. It's a whole pain in the butt. Now with the 10-frame hive top feeders, they've redesigned those to where there's they're not cleats, but they're little tabs in the trough part that hold the screen in place now. Why they didn't redesign the 8-frame ones also, I have no idea. But the 10-frame hive top feeders from Man Lake do have tabs to keep the screen in place, where you can still take the screen off for cleaning and put it back on. So yeah, the Saracel ones are my favorite ones.
Look what Paul wrote down here. It's pretty cool. That's different.
Mm-hmm.
That's how Bob does that big old 40 or 50 gallon tote out in his yard. He puts the pine straw in it.
Yeah. Yeah, and so does Bruce down there in Alabama. He does his that same way and does them in the buckets. So that's add sugar water.
I've tried that stuff, and to me, you seem like to me the bees just die. They get drowned in there. And
Did you get a lot of yellow jackets, Charlie, when you tried that?
yeah, and bald face hornets and everything else. That's where I just go ahead and buy a top hive feeder or and direct feed into the hive. I was going to try to answer DC's
Comment.
question
Hey,
there.
How do you do your feeding? Do you feed on top of your hives?
Yeah. My favorite's gallon buckets.
Okay.
And right now I'm using quart jars because I want to limit the amount that they get in. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
I've got quart jar on every hive I've got right now.
Is that why you had to get rid of the raccoons? They was pulling off.
I don't know.
They do it to Greg. He mentioned it.
They like cat food better, I can tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have issues with, so my thing, we've never done, well, we use telescoping covers, but we've never done high bucket feeders because my thought is always, you're going to be chasing those all the time. They're going to get blown off. A critter like a raccoon or a possum's going to be knocking them
I
off.
just automatically I've got some 4x4 old paving bricks that come out of an old time bee yard that they used to put on the streets here in this part of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And I just automatically stick a 4x4. They're 8 inches long and a 4-inch square. And I just put those on top of the buckets. I never have one blowed off of them. Never.
Yeah, now DCB, he was wanting to know whether you can get an 8-frame Man Lake top hive feeder. And yes, you can. You can buy just the plastic. They're $31.50 a piece.
Now we just buy the inserts, and Tom makes the wood frame himself. And
Well,
what's
that's
the box,
that's-
yeah. And what's nice about that is then you can also, if you want, use that box now as a shim for something else. It doesn't have to just go, it kind of serves two purposes.
yeah. Well, the 3150 for just the feeder insert itself. It's the same price for either the 10 or the 8.
We didn't pay even close to that. I think we paid $20-some.
See you, Link.
Whatever we bought 50 or 60.
Yeah, Link, thanks for coming on and not being with us.
Spanky, did you see Melanie's comment?
Yeah, they don't watch very much.
So Link Kilby, where are you located? Aren't you located in Canada? I believe
Newfoundland, I think, maybe.
Newfoundland.
I may be wrong, but I was thinking Newfoundland.
Yeah, I think so.
And that is part of Canada, I guess, but it's
It's the most
There you are.
east, yeah, most east that you can get, I guess.
Yeah.
Is he?
George is saying Frederick just recently promoted the bag feeders, the feeding stations. Check it out.
Is he talking about though the Hive Alive syrup that's in those bags, or just regular feeding out of bags? I'm just curious. I haven't seen that video yet.
Just the ones I've seen on Fred was just the Ziplocs.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, you could do that, I guess.
I call them Robin stations. I make them, but I make plastic with the sealed lids on the top. And I drill holes in the sides of them. That way you don't get water and stuff in them. That's what I use. But I don't call them feeding stations. I put them out at least 100 yards away from the nearest hives, and I drill about a 2-inch hole, several 2-inch holes in the side of them, and I put straw on the bottom of them. I never have. I got a lot of dead bees, but I think they die of old age. A lot of the foragers have to be there when their time comes to kick the bucket, so to speak. I don't
Yeah,
think
Morris, I'm right there with you, brother. This warm weather is not really good for our bees this time of year. It's being kind of rough on them.
Well, that's the reason I'm feeding all the time,
Yep.
trying to hang on to what I got.
That I have a question with that. Right now, I started feeding around the 15th of September, and by the 12th or so of October, I was done. And I dropped 200 gallons of feed into my hives through top hive feeders, and they're set. So, I hear people talk about feeding through the winter. I've always fed in the fall. You're set up. You're done. Is that like JW? Did you top them off and they've ate it all, or did you have just kind of right along?
No, I don't. I just do it, Charlie, at what I feel like is needed. I go along and lift my hive. I go like when I feed him if he's heavy. But boy, I tell you, it was 78 degrees here today, and the bees is flying like crazy and bringing in pollen. Now, I don't know if you was in on the early part of it. I got one hive that the foragers was coming in just loaded with orange. It's a real bright orange.
Yeah, I seen that too here, a little bit of that. And then my bees are not really flying, not like they would be on a flow where everybody would just, the sky is full of them coming out of the hive and coming back and forth.
Some of mine are, believe it or not. They really are.
Yeah, mine are not doing that. Mine are kind of like hanging at the front door, kind of hanging out there. There might be some orientation flight in front of the hive, a little bit. And then some of them, of course, kind of depends. Well, it was kind of overcast today or what, but I've seen them in bright sunlight, perfect flying weather. And, yesterday we had 81 degrees, but they're not doing a whole lot. Now they're looking for some water occasionally, but that's about it. But
Yeah, I'm like Rodney. That it seems like our bees thinks it's spring right now. It's just we don't get this kind of warm weather like this. Not right now. We usually had. We always get a snow before November, and but the temperatures are usually really really cold right now, and it's just not showing up for us.
Yeah, it's like Tim Mayer's gun line, talking
Yeah.
about the old journals and stuff. And I was talking to what's his name from up there in New Hampshire there, the condensing hive. Melissa, what's his name? That Bill had. I talked with him. He was at one of our state meetings, and he says, he doesn't understand the people that feed through the winter. He says, we're up there, where of course he's up in a cold country up there. It's feed before winter hits and get them slam packed full, and then that's it, and then he buttons them up, and that's kind of that's what I've done. I call it leapfrogging the top hive feeders. If I got a hive over here that's got 3 inches or 4 inches of sugar water in there, and it's sat there for 3 or 4 days and it hasn't moved as far as the amount, and I got another hive next door that the feeder is dry as a bone, I take that feeder off. It's got that fluid in there, pour it in the other one, and then take the feeder off of that hive because it's done. It's full.
Well, I'm a lot like you when it comes to it. I really want to get those bees topped off. I usually throw some newspaper, camp method, throw some sugar in there, button them up, and I'll try not to open them back up until we get a warm day, late January, February, and then get back in and see what's going on. So that's kind of how we do it here, but it's different for different places.
Yeah. So we usually feed until the overnight temps start getting into freezing consistently, and then we'll stop feeding liquid feed. By then they should, because otherwise it's warm and they're trying to fly. There's no resources out there for them. So they're coming home and they're just eating the resources that they have, right? So that's why one reason why we just keep feeding them. So they just keep storing it while we can. And then, so once the overnight temperatures start getting down or around the freezing mark, when we quit feeding them, usually sometime between now and mid-November, we leave them be. And then right around when we come back from Nobby, we'll put a candy board on them just for emergency feed. Even if their top box is still full, every single box of ours will get an emergency candy board on it, just to make sure.
Yeah, Darren's
That's all we do.
comment there is an inside joke.
Oh, we'll post it up there so they know what's being said.
It's like
Oh,
I was on Nancy's. Well, I belong to the same club Nancy belongs to in Pennsylvania. And I made a comment last week. I said, that mountain came out. I said, that is so beginner. And to me, I don't know. I just never could wrap my head around that method and all. But DC, I like your comment there because solar maximum, he's talking about the sun, and like here, a couple weeks ago, we had the northern lights, which were more visible than ever before. And that was because of a major solar flare that came off the sun, and because of the magnetic effect and all that kind of stuff. But I've looked into that kind of stuff years ago, where the sun has a cooling phase and a warming phase, and we're talking, let's say a cooling phase might last for 5 years or more. And they were debunking the climate change thing, where the sun pretty much governs our weather for sure. And the solar flares we're becoming, from what I've been watching here recently, the solar flares on the sun are becoming highly active right now. In the last 10 years, it hasn't been. And I think maybe that's part of why we're so warm right now. I'm not real versed on that science. It would be some of them guys. I'm like, well, what does it mean to me or us? I'd have to ask them.
And it's also an El Nino year also, which means a warmer winter. And sometimes for us in the mountains, North Carolina means a larger snow. So it could get a more wet snow for us.
Yeah, they've come up with those different terms here in the last few years. I'm not sure exactly what they all mean.
Yeah. I think El Nino is warm water off of the coast of California. And I think El Nino is the opposite effect of that, or maybe it's lower Mexico area when that happens with the warmer water. If anybody knows, leave it in the chat. Let us know.
I noticed you honey contest winners are patting one another on the back here. Northern Russell and Philip Morris. See there?
Well, you
I told you,
you should have sent it in by physical mail.
I'm still mad over that. They never did test my honey.
We were trying to get JW to enter the black jar honey this weekend at the honey show, because that's the only division that we can't enter, because it's only for Illinois residents to enter the black jar.
Oh,
Like, JW, you should enter it.
He is. He just doesn't know it.
What we're gonna do is moonlight your honey. We'll cheat. We'll moonlight your honey on my name.
Wouldn't it be something though if JW put his honey in that black jar honey show and he won? You know, honey. He
Yeah,
didn't
it would
win.
be tough.
Then you could hang out with these cool, with
I'd be right in there with
Russell,
Sir Philip and Sir Russell.
Yeah. Get a little clout yourself.
I will say, Tom and Melissa, when we was up there with you guys at your conference, JW, he got a bunch of those tickets, and I don't know where JW got off to, but he said, "Here, Rick, you guys have these tickets." And I thought, well, JW's got a lot of good luck, and he didn't win nothing.
There was a lot of stuff there to win too.
I know. You guys had a ton of stuff up there, and he didn't win nothing with that. So
Oh my word.
don't use his luck. I'm just going to tell you right now.
No.
Okay. Okay, Hannah or Buttons, whichever one of you's doing the texting. I'll assume it's Hannah. You don't.
That's how good his was. You need to delete his out.
JW feeds sugar water when his supers are on.
See, there we go.
You missed it. You were in the shower. JW said some guy drove up and bought like 20 pounds or 20 bottles of his honey today.
I knew that.
22 for a fact.
He knew that already. Never mind. I thought I was telling him something
We're old
exciting.
buddies. I keep in touch. Me and Sonny's got this thing going,
Yeah.
But you're talking about competing with honey, and I think
Look at this. How see JW?
Mm.
Spanky was taught. What was it you were talking about? The wrapper or something, or was it the lid that was going to get if the bottle falls over?
Oh, that picture she's put, was it cling wrap or whatever,
Yeah.
in between the lid and the honey.
Right.
But I
So
didn't know if enough honey, if it was to fall over, would gather up on that cling wrap, or if you remove it, if
I
they'd
would
be able to
probably-
tell a difference.
Yeah. I would probably just try to, like, if the plastic was still on, I'd probably just try to scrape enough of the honey off of it back into the bottle. The only problem is you do that and then it might introduce particular. It might introduce some air bubbles into it, and then you have that issue. But at least you'll meet your fill line level. So yeah, if it falls over, you're kind of in a mess anyway.
No, I have a gal here, Monica Schmidt. She was a grand champion, I guess you'd call it, at EAS, I think 2019 with the silver plate and all that stuff. And she's if you want somebody to go over how to compete in a hunting competition, she's the gal to get. I got her from my club and she did a Zoom. That was back right after COVID time, I think it was, or right in between COVID. And I figured, boy, this is going to be boring. And it was like, really? You do all this? You know, she works months in advance. And she's like, you know, she talks about like you select the honey in the comb, you know, far as color before you ever extract it. And then glassware, you sit there and inspect it so there isn't any defects in the glass. And
So the glass thing, though, it depends on who the judges are. The honey council that is doing this one and Nabi, they don't take points off for bubbles in the glass and glass defects. Some of them do, though. So you really have to make sure to read the rules because each judging committee,
the Welch is the Welch judging thing.
Yeah, they have different rules.
I think also with the Welch judging, because I've heard some other judging outfits complain about them because they don't use the honey spectrograph or whatever that thing's called. It's the thing where you put the honey, you know, jar in front of the light and it can sit there and show you whether there's any floaters in there and stuff that's microscopic and all that. And, but she talks about, you know, putting those little cotton gloves that are real thin so there's no fingerprints. And
I wear gloves when I prep all mine.
And then while even handing it over to like she's at some of them high levels where the judges don't touch it. They, you know, you put it on the table here.
Yep.
And she does all that and with the gloves, and then she changes the lid. So make sure that the lid doesn't have any honey on the top, and it's on and on and on and all this stuff, and puts it, something about, I forget what she was talking about, you know, about trying to keep it warm. So there isn't any air bubbles and different things of that nature. Polariscope or, and, so, it was quite interesting. I didn't realize how much, you know, to get into it.
You mean everybody doesn't do that, Charlie?
I put my honey in the competition one time for Maryland under the first time in, you know, they give you a little more leeway.
Well,
And I didn't really read the instructions, you know, like they kind of helped, you know, this is what you need to be doing. And then they said, well, you didn't win anything. Here's the point schedule. And then Pam says, because she is in mathematics, well, they can't obviously add. The person who got like second place should have got last place. And I think I came in at either third or whatever it was. It was a $2 bill I got out of it. And I had to stay there later to get my honey back. And I said, you know what? This is the first time and the last time.
It ain't worth
So, I think at the at the state fair in August, I think what all did I enter? Like 4 or 5 different categories with honey, and I think I won like $17. It was really exciting.
Oh,
You know, something I really think they should take anybody that gets a ribbon and take their honey and pour it out so they don't get to use it again. I think that's the fair way to do it. You got your ribbon, we're gonna pour your honey out because
That's fine. You do that for me as long as you pay me double the amount of money.
Yeah.
I mean, 17 bucks, that's a joke.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
I mean,
you're not really doing it for the money. You're doing it just so you can say that you placed this, that, or the other, and you know.
Bragging rights.
I mean, if you're
Tom said, never mind. That was supposed to be his retirement fund. But
so worried about them reusing it, just have some crystallized honey there and inject all of them after you're done.
There you go. Yes, Pink, you're right.
That way they got
it is
something for the
nice when you're
crystallized honey.
doing. It is nice when you're doing markets though, and you can say, "Hey, this honey won, you know, second place at the largest honey show in the nation, and it won third place in our state's competition." And people are like, seriously? Wow, that's impressive. Let me buy a bottle or 2
Or 6.
or 6 or 20.
We did have a gentleman
Right,
at our bee club that told us he come in second at a honey contest, and I finally asked him, kidding around, I said, how many people put their honey in? He said 6. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's
So,
first loser anyway, Rick.
that's right, JW.
Number 2's first loser.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, if I make this one Saturday and do one more, I will have done 2. That's not my
Yeah.
thing at
Bill.
all.
Clearly, no respect here at all, Philip.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
That's right, Blaine. You're right.
Yep.
Point on. Point well
Yep.
taken.
Yep. Blaine's got it. So you just enter in 3 different colors there, Melissa?
So there's a light, medium, and dark extracted. So I'm entering in each of those. Then I'm entering my creamed honey. Then I also did the candle category, the small wax block, and the large wax block. My wax blocks didn't turn out great, so I just want to enter them so I can get the comment cards. And then I also made a bread, which I'm not going to want anything for the bread either, but I just want the comment card because they'll critique what you did and let you know like what you can do to improve or if it was this or that or the other. So, but yeah.
Did you guys see Mike Berry's video about
Yep.
that?
I was going to say that. Yeah, he got a really good video of some wax stuff that he had done. It's really cool.
I think it's Beeline, is it? I think it
Be
was.
light. So we have some of their molds, and their molds, they have really good molds and they're not cheap. But a couple of them that I have, the candles are really hard because the molds are really stiff. And I have even if I use candle release or the mold release stuff, I have a really hard time getting the mold out of it. And there's this one that's a gnome. About every other one I do, his foot breaks because of the way that the mold wraps around his shoe and when you have to go to get it undone. So I think they need to make that into a softer mold or something or redesign that. I'm going to email them and ask them about it because I didn't even, I've just been getting frustrated with this particular mold because they're not cheap to begin with.
Rick, I don't know if you noticed or not, I'm starting to worry about this being Armageddon. You notice that sun there behind me?
Yep.
It's been the same. I don't think it's ever going to go down. I think it's going to get dark here again.
Just staying up there, ain't JW?
It's been dark for like 4 hours now here.
Yeah, but you're on the sunny side now, sweetheart.
Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah.
On the sunny side.
Tom busy back buffing the wax block.
Yeah,
Busy commenting.
I'm being sarcastic.
Imagine that.
Hmm.
I don't know why you'd be that way. I'm always nice to you.
I know.
Mm,
It takes the pressure off Melissa.
man.
So
I
Tom,
tried to get him educated tonight, Rick, when he wouldn't. I don't think he paid a bit of attention to all my critique. I was trying to get him smartened up, but he wouldn't listen to me, I don't think.
Who's he talking to?
I don't know. What'd you say at the beginning, JW?
I said I've been trying to get your husband enlightened up with a little more knowledge. I had an expert source lined up for him, but I don't think he paid a bit of attention to what I was saying.
I don't watch your buddy, all right?
Shh. We're not going to go there.
Yeah, I'll keep my mouth shut.
What were you gonna say, Ricky?
I don't remember. It wasn't that important. So not that important. So Philip's got something here.
Yeah, Paul, you're right.
I've been looking up places that JW is going to take me to dinner.
Well, I don't care. You can't get her too Rudy Snoop for me. I'm kind of a high roller, you know.
Well, you know what I Googled in there? I Googled in highest priced meals near me. That's all I was looking for.
No problem. I'll just take that off of your commission.
Yeah, I got 2 big barrels of sugar in the back of Melissa's Explorer waiting it down for you.
Good deal. Good deal. I can sure use it. I can tell you that.
A few 100 pounds.
That'll last me 5 days at least.
Yeah.
Poor Darren. So Charlie, you say your bees are doing, you've got your bees already topped off and ready for winter?
I'm done.
Oh,
I
man.
mean, the only thing else I done this past weekend was a Saturday. I did OA in everybody, and I came back Sunday morning, I guess it was.
So how many colonies you going to push through winter this year?
I got 23 out there right now.
Okay.
I have space for 28, but I've lost some. I lost one production hive, 4 queen, and I had a couple of nukes that went queenless or something.
So what's your big goals for next year for your colonies? You going to do the nukes? You going to sell some queens or just do the honey?
No, I'm out of the nuke business per se. I'll have at least. I mean, I'll keep at least. I'll say 10 nukes. 10. I can keep I have enough space for 12, but I'm looking at I'm gonna have to kind of see how things go this spring about an area for my cell builder. I'm going to get back into raising queens.
Yep.
And I do the queens. I got 16. I have to have 16 production hives. I want to between 12 and 1,500 pounds of honey, hopefully next year, if everything goes well as far as for the weather and everything all that. That's about it. I've been president of my local club for the last 5 years, and this is my last year for that. And like, yay, I'm done. I enjoyed it. I don't know. It seemed like once I got past where I helped get the club nonprofit and a 501c3, I got over that hump. It seemed like after that, it was like, all right, I'm done. I kind of just lost my gung ho, I guess you would call it.
Well, let me ask you a question on that, because we kind of had a little bit of a side meeting at our group, B group, and is that in your bylaws that you have a new president every couple of years, or is that something that you guys do?
We have elections. We have elections every year. It's like any volunteer organization. If you can find a sucker that takes the darn spot, that's already.
Well, I probably shouldn't talk about this, but I'm gonna go ahead and talk about it a little bit tonight. We're having problems with our bee association here in Nash County. I actually dropped out of that association back in December. We got a new president, and things have been sliding downhill. He's pretty much run off at least half of the bee association, and that's for me sad, because the bee association set up for the people, and that's who we're supposed to be helping. It's not about your name. It's not about the title. It's not about who you are. It's about the people, and how can you help the people and the beekeepers with their bees. And that seems to be falling apart here in our county.
So what did he do? You do have board of directors, right?
We do. When I left, and that's why I haven't said anything about it. I have my show on Thursday nights. We have our bee association stuff on Thursday nights, and I give him a list of days that I could be there and couldn't be there. It's on the swarm committee, which ain't no big deal to me, but he practically said if we wasn't there every bee meeting, we didn't need that job. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I can, I don't have to deal with that, And then he said, well, we're going to do presentations for people. And he had set a presentation up for me to do some of the horizontal hives that we had. And I gave him a list of the days I'd be there. Well, he made sure he set that presentation on a day that I was actually supposed to be at Tom and Melissa's in Missouri. And I'm like, dude, you're just crooked. So I just thought it was best just to step away and not cause no problems. But basically, he's pretty much run all of them off. He's actually run off the board of directors, actually, also.
Really? I mean, that's pretty bad. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been on my board of directors either in vice president capacity or president for 9 years.
Yeah.
4 years of vice president, 5 years of president, and then the next year I'll be the past president voting position. It's more of an advisor to the new president. And we've had some, I've had one treasurer that, it's like, I'm one like when the bill comes in, I want it paid in a reasonable amount of time. And I had one person who was a procrastinator, which I just, person should not have to wait a month or two to get a paycheck.
Right.
Yeah. If they're, if it's a speaker that we're zooming in, that, within a week or two, that person ought to be having their check. If, whatever. So I finally got rid of him. He quit, and I got another gal in there she's kind of like Johnny on the spot when it comes to getting bills paid and keeping the financials. I got a good team. I have to say, we got a good team. We all work together. My main goal is that not to dump not to have each person on the board have one job to take care of, something that's not overwhelming and pretty easy to take care of. Don't have 4 different things at the same time, and the job is up to their eyeballs.
So yeah, Grammy's got a little bit there, and so that's kind of what the meeting was about today. What ended up blowing up was that the gentleman, he's actually he's a preacher.
Oh,
He's
well, there you go.
he's a master beekeeper.
That's another problem.
Yeah, this guy's a different gentleman that's leaving the bee association. He's kind of what most people follow, not the president that's there now. But he put in for a grant with North Carolina to do a queen rearing program, and he brought me in and brought a couple of the other members that's kind of dropped out, the old president of the bee association, and brought us in, and he absolutely had a fit. He brought this guy in, or my master beekeeper, and said, "Did you think about how I would feel about this?" And it's like, well, what this person was trying to do was trying to get everybody back together as a group. And it just blew up. So like Lisa's mentioning there, about us doing a co-op or another bee association. So that's kind of what we're looking at doing now, is to kind of.
We got the next county.
We're going to let y'all do your thing, and we're going to do our thing.
So that kind of happened in St. Louis before Tom and I were ever involved in it.
Yeah, the Baltimore County Club.
So the
they had a coup.
So years, I don't even know how long ago it was. There was just the EMBA, but then there were some people who wanted to be more had city urban beekeeping. And then other people wanted to learn. And I think the person who was kind of head of the EMBA at the time was kind of like, no, this is the way that this club is going to be run. So that's kind of how we got it. Kind of broke off. Now we have the EMBA, then there's Three Rivers, and there's STL beekeeping, and I think Jefferson County always had one. Yeah. But anyway, so EMBA kind of split 3 ways now, and I know Three Rivers, they have a pretty good, like all three clubs have really good followings. The EMBA is still the largest out of the three, but it was kind of this similar situation. People kind of split off and they just kind of started their own.
Well, the thing about it is the old president, which I really liked a lot. He felt like really you shouldn't be in office but for 2 years, and you should allow somebody else to step in that spot. And I know a lot of B associations don't have a lot of members, so that kind of causes problems. It was actually growing at the time, and so with this new gentleman, is pretty much going to be somebody said a dictator on here. I think it may have been him, but he's kind of a little bit of a dictator, and he sent us an ultimatum saying that if we still wanted to do this queen rearing program, we had to be there all the time, and he had a whole list of stuff that we had to do to go through the Bee Association to do this program. So,
But he wasn't going to do this.
He's going to end up running everybody off, and it's said and done. And it's sad because, we're there again. We're there to help people out. A Bee Association is there to help people out, educate beekeepers, give them the information they need, not to be a show person. And Spanky knows who I'm talking about. It was actually at the North Carolina Bee Association down there, and the president Rick Cooler was there, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's Rick. He does the bee business, and he's one of our club members. And hey, this guy here, he does hive tracks, and he's one of our club members." And he just really wanted to get the spotlight on him, And we had the falling out before we went down there, and Randy McCaffrey happened to mention my name and had me stand up in front of everybody at the North Carolina Bee Association, which was very nice, very kind of him to do that. And this president came up saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to go out to eat. I've been sending you emails and texts." And Spanky knows I had nothing. He had sent me nothing. But because I was getting some recognition, he thought that could get him some recognition.
Right.
And that's the wrong way to be.
Yes.
So it's been tough.
It's not like this guy he's got an ego problem.
Yes, he does. You're absolutely right.
I mean,
Charlie.
I've been president of the club, and I'm like, yeah, so what?
Yeah.
It's no big deal.
No.
So are there bylaws in the club? Like, so you said, so there's no bylaws or anything. So he
don't have any bylaws?
can do whatever he wants then.
Yep.
So we not Tom and I, but the board, we rewrote our bylaws last year to kind of update them after coming back from COVID. And one of the things that we did put in there is we changed how the board members were, how often and how the board members were elected. So now they're on 2-year terms, but they're alternating. Like not every board member is getting voted on every year. Like there's, I think, 7 board members. 3 of them will get voted 1 year. Then the next year, the other 4 will get voted. That way there's a little bit of overlap. And we did it a 2-year term because that will give each president or each board time to implement something and see it through.
Yeah.
So
it's just really sad for us right now. So just pray for us so we can kind of get through this. So Charlie, if you need a job since you're stepping down, we'd love to have you come down here and fix this problem if you don't mind.
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, you're saying that you didn't even have bylaws or any SOPs.
We was working on that before the new president stepped down, but they never got implemented. So
yeah, because I mean, it's something that we did at our club because we became incorporated and a nonprofit and also a 501c3 type thing. We were changing our name because there's a Susquehanna Bee Club in Pennsylvania, and they took this name in Maryland before there was the internet, so we didn't know about our sister club up the way. So we changed our name with this legality stuff, Susquehanna Beekeepers of Maryland, and then you have to rewrite a constitution and bylaws. And of course the body, the club body has to vote on it. And then it's set, set in stone, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
And it has, the president does this and this is his job and blah blah
Yep.
blah blah blah. All the different things about the president's office. Each office had their own description and what they were responsible for and all these other things. So, what's the matter?
Sorry about that, Charlie. I was laughing about something else.
What?
Sorry, I was laughing about something else.
Oh,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Tom's causing trouble.
Tom's causing trouble.
So anyway, that's. But we had a club up here, the next county over, which I belong to that one too, and like you say, there were some people in that club that were, I'll call, underhanded, and basically the club blew up, and
Right.
the original board of directors were voted out.
Yep.
And this new bunch who were kind of like blind sheep, as I'll say, they were, the one who was the instigator is not on the board, but he knows how to manipulate them.
Right.
And they all got in there, and it's like the president who's in there now came to the past president. How do you get these people to volunteer and do all this stuff and blah blah blah? And he just chuckled and laughed. He says, hey, it's always the same 10 people, and that's the board of directors and maybe a few other people will volunteer to do the jobs, to do the affairs and things like that. And that's it. Get used to it.
Right.
And they found out that the person who said bad things about the ones who were in office found out it was all a bunch of lies.
Right.
And stuff. So
that's the hard thing about
in the meantime, myself and a group of us started, I'll say, a Facebook club.
Right.
And we get together and go to their local brewery once a month or so and sit around and talk. I don't drink beer, but they all sit around and drink beer and talk bees.
Anytime talking about bees is fun, I'll tell you that. So.
And then we have a Zoom meeting or something like that. And then we might get to somebody's, like in the summertime, somebody's place to do a hive dive or something like that. So, yeah.
Well, I don't want to leave on a low note. Anybody got any questions before we kind of log off for the night? I'd rather be on a high note. That's why I was picking on JW just now. We want to leave on that high note, and have some good laughs, before we go, and make everybody feel good. So, anybody got any questions for us before we get out here tonight?
I'm hurt personally. I'm not hurt.
We can log off now.
Sounds like my job has been completed. I wish it
Tom
was
feels good right now. He's not gonna feel good later. He's probably still gonna feel bad, but
I
he's
think
feeling good
Quimby's
right
in on this deal too.
now.
I've got a memory like an elephant. I'm madder than I ever been.
Oh, yeah. DCS, how's the bees? Is he talking about the bees above your head? How are those doing? We haven't had an update on those in a while.
Yeah,
They
they're done. There's nothing there. They're gone. That's why you don't even see them right now. The hive is absolutely empty, and only thing I do is come in the afternoons and watch the bees come in and rob it out. So so it's empty.
How's things down your way, Ricky, as far as getting back to normal?
So
So
school's still air late right now. The part of the road that is between Boone and Tennessee, North Carolina, Tennessee line, there's up to one lane. They've about got it completely for 2 lanes, and there's still some places on 88 that I travel to work. They're working on getting it finished up, so things are almost back to normal for us. Almost. So. Appreciate
How-
you asking.
How's Boone doing? Is it? I mean, I knew it was flooded quite a bit. And a lot of that kind of
Yeah, Boone's
Didn't
back to
flip.
normal. Most of everything's starting to be rebuilt. I'd say Samaritan's Purse here has been God sent for everybody. They are coming in. They see the 600 last week, I think, got together, and they give them places to go. They're coming in. They're helping rebuild people's houses after everything was tore out. I mean, they are absolutely awesome. Those people are. So a lot of that's going on in Boone because, like you're right, Boone's kind of like a plateau on top of a mountain. It's kind of a bowl, and it just filled up with water. So there's a lot of houses flooded there in that area. So, yep.
So how far is Eunice over there from you? Do you know where he's at?
Mhm.
No.
The guy that is on television, the Mountain Men show.
Oh, the Mountain Men show. Oh, yeah, he's in Sparta. He's from my house. He's about an hour and a half away, Charlie. He's
that where he's
he
at?
actually headed towards your house. Yeah,
Yeah.
he actually come into Boone riding on his horse.
Yeah, I've seen that on the television show one time.
Yep. So
I figured that was just a put on thing.
yeah, I'm sure it is.
You know, and then he had a raid with the damn cops and everything else.
Yep. So, well, folks, we're going to cut it there tonight. Hey, Charlie, I appreciate you coming on, you and JW, and being with us. And I'm glad Melissa finally got Tom to be a little bit more quiet. You know,
I
did
know,
great
like
today.
everybody else got to talk. It was great. Like Spanky
Yeah.
was able to talk because Tom wasn't.
Yeah, Spanky got some good comments and jabs in there at us, so that's good. And you guys in the chat have been absolutely awesome tonight. Had some really good comments. I learned some stuff, and that's what these chats are all about. So anyway, we'll catch you guys next Thursday.
See you
Good
guys.
night, Joe.
And we'll see y'all